Hi everyone, Amy here with amyswares, and today's video is all about using the unused. This is a collaboration video and I'll tell you more about that as we jump right in. Now to start, I'm going to show you a few as of yet unused items from my crafty stash. I have this adorable stamp set from Lawn Fun. I have this really cool stitched strip die from LDRS Creative, and I have a background stamp from Hero Arts. So I'm going to use these few items as well as several others to pull together this birthday card for my husband. Now here are a couple photos of the finished card, but do stick around because I'm going to tell you more about the collaboration that I'm doing with my friend, and there will also be a bonus card at the end, so be sure to stick around for those details. Now here is my lovely friend Ardith Percy Robb. You probably know her. She's pretty big in the crafting world. She's so amazing, and she's agreed to do another collaboration with me. So about a year ago, almost exactly actually, we did another collaboration with the same exact theme. We both had quite a few items that were just kind of sitting neglected in our craft room, and we wanted to make that the theme of our collaboration. So that's what we're doing. So be sure to stick around to the end of the video, and then I will link her video so you can hop to that next because you won't want to miss it. So as you can see, I used some pieces of scrap colored cardstock and pattern paper, which is always nice to use it up, and I used that new strip die to cut a bunch of those strips. Now this is a two-way stick tape. It's 6 inches wide, the particular roll that I have, but I get it from scrapbook.com, and I just put it on some like copy paper for your printer so that it's not super thick. And now I just peel back about half of it and I'm lining up these strips. Now I don't want to keep you here all day, and I know you're anxious to get to Ardith's video, so I have this kind of sped up, but you kind of get the idea of, the general principle of what I'm doing. So I'm going to cut this panel out with this cool stitched rectangle die from LDRS Creative, and you can see it's A2 size, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'm actually going to load that up in my MISTI, and I'm going to stamp with this background stamp to add a little bit extra to this background. Now initially I was just going to use the Versamark ink because I thought that would leave like a very subtle kind of cool watermark look on it. But after I stamped it a couple times, it was not even visible at all. So I did end up, as you'll see in a moment here, using some clear embossing powder from Brutus Monroe just to kind of cook it up so it will actually show. I would have normally used my embossing tool from the Rabbit Hole Designs at this point, but like I said, I wasn't planning on actually heat embossing. I was planning initially on just using the Versamark. So that's the way that I course corrected here, so that it didn't go to waste, and I was able to use that cool background stamp just to add a little bit more of visual interest to this background. Now it's very subtle. You can see here I'm cooking it up. This is my Wow embossing heat tool. It has 2 heat settings. I do have it on the highest heat setting, and it left this cool kind of shiny surface to the background. So if you see it in person, you can absolutely see that detail, but it's subtle enough that it's not going to kind of take away from the whole design. So now I centered that big happy birthday die. That's another Lawn Fun product, and I'm using some low tack mint tape that I get from scrapbook.com, and I lined that up right in the center of this background. Now you can probably guess what I'm doing with all those little fiddly bits. I'm setting them aside so I can kind of turn that into something else later. So now I'm going to start on my stamping. I loaded this cute little lemon up into my MISTI, and I'm stamping it with a Copic friendly ink. So I'm using Gina K amalgam ink, stamping it a couple times, and then putting the little face in this adorable little stamp. And you'll see I do decide to stamp it a second time just because I have that whole little sheet there, and I might as well in case I mess it up, or that way so I'll have an extra when I'm done. So I did use my swatch sheet that is from Sandy Allnock. I did use that to kind of find matching colors for the cardstocks that I used. So I matched that to the colored cardstocks and the scraps of pattern paper that I used. And this is kind of a, I don't know, kind of like a pea green, but I did bring in almost like a teal color so that it would really match the cardstock. And here I'm just doing my messy coloring. It doesn't have to be perfect. Don't let your markers intimidate you. They're meant to be fun. You can see I only have a few colors here, and the darkest one I'm really just using to add little dots to kind of give it texture like a lemon would have with all the little dots on the skin of the lemon. So those are really super easy to color. Just coming back in with that darker green just to add a little bit more dimension in the coloring. And then I decide I don't want to waste this inner portion of the white cardstock. I can use that to make more strips here to stamp my sentiment on. So I ran that through off screen in my die cutting machine, and then I loaded up these little adorable punny sentiments onto this acrylic block. And this I'm going to stamp with my favorite black ink. It is VersaFine Claire Nocturne. So this is a pigment ink. It does take a minute to dry, but it's great for detailed stamps or little fine letter stamps and things like that. So here I'm using my favorite Cutter Bee scissors to fussy cut out this lemon. I'm sure there are coordinating dies, but I don't have that, and this was pretty easy to cut out. So the best advice I can give you with fussy cutting is to turn your paper, not your hand. So it will help you not have hand fatigue, and it will help you get kind of a cleaner cut. So here I'm kind of pulling all the pieces that I've been working on back into the fray, and I'm still kind of winging it. I have a general idea, but I don't exactly know what I want the layout to be, if I'm going to use the inner or outer portion of that happy birthday die. So I'm kind of just putting the little pieces around to get an idea of what I want to do. And as you saw, I used one of my beloved 3D embossing folder from Altenew to really add some dimension and interest to that extra piece of pattern paper that I brought into the design. Now this is adhesive backed foam that I get from Amazon. I'll link that in the video description box below. But this is a fun way to pop up your sentiment and really help it kind of pop off of a busy background. You can have it directly underneath the die or kind of offset it a little bit like you'll see that I do here. But I pop it out and then I just use some liquid glue to attach the pretty top layer onto the foam. So now I have nice even dimension behind it. I have that little fun colored shadow that kind of kicks off to the side, and it really helps it pop off my background. Now do stay with me. I will show you a bonus card in a minute, and be sure to stick around for artist's video at the end. Here I was just putting a little bit of blingage on it. Now this is very satisfying. I'm able to take all of my extra little pieces parts that I can use for future cards and put them in my storage books. So I have 2 for my sentiments and 1 for my critters. So this is the way that I'm able to batch a bunch of cards and have them ready to go, so that if I need to make a card in a hurry or I want to make a bunch of cards, I have a lot of the components already ready to go. So thanks for sticking around. Here is the second bonus card that I was able to make with the outer portion of that panel. And here are the 2 finished cards. I'll show you on the inside. I was able to take another little scrap of that piece with the strips, as well as a sentiment that I stamped on yellow that said "Squeeze the Day." And then here is the second card. So again, I use those same little crystally blingage for the front of the card and put a little sentiment on the inside. That was actually a MFT stamp. So here are a couple more photos, some nice close-ups where you can really see that clear embossing and all the detail of the stitched edge. And I'm really pleased with how these came together. So I'm hoping my husband likes his card. And here is a link now to Artith's video. So be sure to check out her video next. It's sure to be amazing. So thank you for spending time with me today, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.